The man who raised me wasn't my father. He was a grease-covered biker mechanic named Big Mike, who found me sleeping in his shop's dumpster when I was 14. 6'4", beard down to his chest, arms full of military tattoos, the kind of man who should have called the cops on a runaway kid stealing his leftover sandwiches. But instead, he opened the shop door at 5 a.m., looked down at me curled between garbage bags, and said 5 words that changed my life forever. "You hungry, kid? Come inside." I'd run from my 4th foster home, the one where the dad's hands wandered and the mom pretended not to see. Sleeping behind a motorcycle shop felt safer than another night in that house. Mike didn't ask questions. He just poured me my first ever cup of coffee, handed me a fresh sandwich, and said, "You know how to hold a wrench?" I shook my head. "Want to learn?" That was it. That's how it started. No cops, no social workers, just work to do, $20 at the end of the day, and a cot in the back room he forgot to lock at night. The bikers should have been terrifying. Leather vests, skull patches, engines that roared like thunder. But they became my teachers. Snake taught me math using engine parts. Preacher made me read out loud while he worked. Bear's wife brought clothes her son had outgrown that somehow fit me perfectly. 6 months later, Mike finally asked, "You got somewhere else to be, kid?" "No, sir." "Then I guess you better keep that room clean. Health inspector doesn't like mess." And just like that, I had a home. Mike made rules. I had to go to school, had to work in the shop after class, had to eat Sunday dinners at the clubhouse, 30 bikers quizzing me on homework, threatening to kick my ass if my grades slipped. One night, Mike caught me reading one of his legal documents. "You're smart, scary smart. We're going to make sure you use that brain." The club pooled money for my SAT prep. When I got into college, they threw a block party that rattled the windows. Mike cried that day, though he swore it was engine fumes. But college was different. Rich kids with trust funds couldn't understand the boy dropped off by a biker gang. I stopped talking about Mike, stopped mentioning home. In law school, I told people my parents were dead. It was easier than explaining my real story. Mike came to my graduation in a brand new suit, but still wearing motorcycle boots because dress shoes hurt his feet. I introduced him as a family friend. He never said a word, just hugged me and told me he was proud. I got a big job at a big firm, stopped answering calls, stopped visiting the shop. Told myself I was building a respectable life, the kind that would never land me in a dumpster again. Then 3 months ago, Mike called. Not asking for me, he said, which always meant he was, but the city's trying to shut us down, calling us a blight. Developers want the land. 40 years he'd run that shop. 40 years fixing bikes for people who couldn't afford the dealer. 40 years saving kids like me. "Get a lawyer," I said. "Can't afford one good enough to fight City Hall." I should have offered on the spot, but I said, "I'll look into it," and I hung up. Weeks later, I saw the headline, "Historic Motorcycle Shop Faces Demolition." And there was a photo of Mike, standing in front of the building that raised me. Arms crossed, looking defiant. But all I saw was a tired old man who'd given me everything. That was the day I drove 6 hours straight back home. When Mike saw me step out of the car, he just said, "Kid, didn't think you'd come." "Yeah," I choked. "Neither did I." At the clubhouse, surrounded by men who'd made me who I was, I realized something. They didn't have what I had, a law degree. The very weapon the city was using against them. "Then let's fight," I said. "I'll be your lawyer." The trial was brutal. The city's lawyers were sharks. They painted Mike as an outlaw, painted the shop as dangerous. But I fought with truth, with neighbors' testimonies, with stories from the kids Mike had saved, with teachers who remembered him showing up at parent-teacher nights on a Harley. When I put Mike on the stand, he said one line that broke the room. "I've spent my life fixing things people thought were broken. Bikes, kids, sometimes both. If that's a crime, then I guess I'm guilty." The judge had to clear his throat before moving on. 3 weeks later, the verdict came in. Big Mike's custom bikes, declared a historic landmark, untouchable, safe. The clubhouse threw a party louder than ever. Mike clapped his heavy hand on my shoulder and said, "Always knew you'd come back." "I almost didn't," I admitted. He smiled. "Doesn't matter, you're here now. That's what counts." And he was right. I still wear the suit, still argue cases in skyscraper boardrooms. But every weekend, I ride down to that shop, trade my tie for grease-stained jeans, teach the new kids how to hold a wrench. Because the truth is, I'll always be the boy who was saved from a dumpster by a dirty mechanic with a heart bigger than his beard. And Big Mike will always be my father.
Stay updated on Secondo's facts, real life, history, meme, and other viral trends. Please like and subscribe to Secondo's Facts and share this video